All right, hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Tonight is Tuesday, August 31st, 2021. This is your evening tropical update. Well, we continue to track the remnants of Ida, now centered in the Tennessee Valley, and these remnants are expected to produce a significant weather event tomorrow across the southern Appalachians and into the New England region, where a regional flash flood threat and tornado outbreak is possible. And we're going to go ahead and talk about that. It said we were mostly done with the Ida stuff, but I do want to point this out because this is a significant weather event, and too often these remnant tropical cyclones are kind of ignored once they're ashore, and we focus on the damage down south, which is no doubt catastrophic and extraordinary, but people often kind of forget when these things come up towards the interior U.S. that they can still produce some pretty big problems. So we're going to talk about that. We have a couple other tropical depressions. We have Tropical Depression Kate just absolutely having the worst time out here in the middle of the Atlantic. We have a pretty beefy Tropical Depression 12 that formed today, and we still have to watch the Western Caribbean later this week. So let's go ahead and talk about Ida, and this is the latest with the radar and satellite overlay. You can see the center of the storm moving through parts of Tennessee. Some heavy thunderstorms out ahead of the southern flank of the system, where a couple tornadoes have been reported today, and then a shield of much heavier stratiform type rain pushing into parts of Virginia, West Virginia, the southern Ohio Valley, Kentucky, and even further north towards Pennsylvania and into southern New England. So this is all going to continue to move northward and northeastward throughout the night and tomorrow, and we have kind of a two-pronged threat setup. So this is the Weather Prediction Center's rainfall forecast through uh, basically Friday morning or through Thursday morning. So this is basically for tomorrow. And you can see a lot of rainfall totals still to come south of the main threat, which is going to be 2 to 4 inches for parts of Virginia, West Virginia, and whatnot. But starting at about northern West Virginia through Pennsylvania, and now what's really looking like into parts of northern New Jersey, New York, Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and again, some, especially across southern Pennsylvania, a lot of rainfall is forecasted. Widespread 4 to 8 inch rainfall totals, and there will be localized totals closer to 10 to 12. Now, again, 10 to 12 inches of rain is a whole lot for anybody, but this, you have to remember, this is over a 24-hour period. This is a 1 day forecast, essentially, or a day and a half. This is a ton of rain for anyone, but especially in the New England region. Okay, this is going to be a widespread flood event. I mean, there's going to be pretty shocking flooding tomorrow, especially in Pennsylvania, in really into northern New Jersey. Again, this is an area that's already wet. I mean, Henri was in here about 2 weeks ago, and that Henri's rain piled on already a wet summer. The drainages, the creeks, the rivers, they're full. I mean, they are at capacity, and you're about to dump a bunch more rain. This is going to be a significant flood threat. We talked about it some yesterday. We had that Weather Prediction Center excessive rainfall outlook at moderate. Well, now it's gone to high, and high is not something these guys issue lightly. There's only been like 12 high risk in Pennsylvania, especially. I saw the tweet about it in the last like 12 or so years. I mean, it's about a once a year thing, and some people are remarking this could be near a once in 100 year sort of flooding event through parts of Pennsylvania where you see these really high rainfall totals. I mean, the stamp is 6.48, but you're talking really about the potential for 8, 10, 12 inches sort of rain in some of these capacities, because this is, like I've said, this is the best guess with these kind of systems. You can sometimes see more. You have Ida's tropical moisture, and then you have a cold front also wrapping up in all this. That's going to kind of squeeze and compress that moisture out, and you've also got the higher terrain also helping with the lift and helping to force that flooding into low-lying areas where the terrain is lower. It's just a bad time all around. And Weather Prediction Center going to high, and this is their tweet about it. The Weather Prediction Center's actual tweet, and look at this language: considerable to significant and potentially life-threatening flash flooding is expected. Guys, they don't write that kind of stuff for no reason. I know it sounds hyperbolic anymore because we have these weather events that are posing those kind of issues, but that's nothing to mess around with at all. Storm Prediction Center also has a chance for slight to enhanced tomorrow, so 2 to 3 out of 5 on their scale, and this is mostly due to the tornado threat. Tornado hatchings 5 to 10% in some cases, 10% for parts of Maryland and the rest of the Delmarva region. This is a region. This is regional tornado outbreak material right here, guys. I mean, 10%. You see that a lot out here. You don't see it too often in New England in the middle of the summertime, especially. And the Storm Prediction Center definitely has some pretty strong language as well. And they absolutely do expect a regional tornado event tomorrow. And they have definitely upgraded their tornado threats ahead of this. I would definitely expect a tornado watch in Maryland and some of the other regions tomorrow, and would please be taking this seriously, because not only this is a severe weather threat, but then to the north, you have this excessive rainfall threat. And this is going to be something that you're going to hear about tomorrow. And people are going to go, oh man, no one could have seen this coming. And it's like, no, it's coming. This is the kind of thing. This is just, these forecasts often people kind of sleep on them for whatever reason. And I really hope, people in this region aren't, because this flood threat really extends all the way into Long Island and Maryland or Connecticut, Rhode Island, etc. So please be taking it seriously tomorrow. It is a big threat. Rest of the tropics tonight, guys, not a whole lot in the short term, especially for the eastern U.S. We are going to be in a bit of a quiet period, looks like through Labor Day, as far as like imminent landfall threats. We do have a couple things to watch. I mean, we'll start with Kate because it's out there. This is the saddest thing I've ever seen. This is the saddest, tiniest little tropical depression. The poor thing is just having the worst day out here in the middle of the Atlantic Basin. I don't know how it's even held on. You can see the tiny little circulation center. It's adorable. You go, girl. Kate expected to be a tropical depression, no longer expected to regain tropical storm status, and it should dissipate well to the east of Bermuda by the end of the week. We do have a new player to talk about. This is Tropical Depression 12, just now coming off the coast of Africa. A much more impressive storm. Maximum sustained winds are only 35 miles an hour, but that will quickly increase as we will likely have Larry tonight or tomorrow. Movement to the west-northwest at 16 miles an hour. Satellite presentation looking pretty good. Big, broad wave. Definitely got a little bit of consolidating to do, but we have enough of a close circulation center, probably tucked up under these thunderstorms, and then we have even more of a surge of tropical moisture following this thing off. So this will kind of help with the vorticity and kind of help get this big mass spinning. And this surge of stronger winds on the north end will probably force a bit more of a convective or more of a vorticity center. And you're going to have a tropical storm much sooner than later. Water vapor imagery also shows a pretty nice environment. No major wind shear factors and most of the drier air well off to the north. GFS echoes as well on the mid-level moisture charts. You can see here a nice vertically stacked system forecast by tomorrow afternoon in a pocket of very nice deep tropical moisture. No issues with that. High pressure cell off to the north and to the east of the system, kind of ventilating the storm aloft and not causing a whole lot of wind shear. So overall, upper level winds, only hostile upper level winds are well to the north and west of the system for the next couple of days. And water temperatures, storm in this region, definitely plenty warm enough to support a developing and growing tropical storm or hurricane. Hurricane Center's official forecast says take this to the west-northwest for the next couple of days, and it does quickly intensify it into a tropical storm again. And then by Friday has it at hurricane status, and by the end of the week near major hurricane status. And in their discussion, they admit that this first forecast intensity could even be a little conservative. I think we'll probably have a major hurricane on our hands by Friday night. So a pretty impressive hurricane coming, no doubt. Now, right now, again, you can see the end of the forecast cone does begin the recurve, and that goes into our next question of, well, where is this going? Ensembles in the European and GFS still show this thing recurving, although more and more models are creeping towards our little friend, which is Bermuda. Anything to the east of Bermuda, we don't really need to worry about. Anything to the west of Bermuda gets a little close. GFS is a bit further to the east than the Euro is on the bulk of their models, but we do definitely see this recurve coming. The question is exactly when. We go into the European mid-level 500 millibar chart. We see a common blocking pattern over the Atlantic Basin, which we call an omega block. You have a low on one side. It's not really probably an actual omega block. You don't really have one on this side. You still have a trough, but you don't really have a full omega block. But it's that kind of set up. And you go through the weekend here, and the system eventually essentially just stays to the south of this high that kind of weakens towards through the weekend. And this is where the storm wants to start turning. This is that high weakens like by early next week. This is the weakest it is, and this is when Larry wants to begin to make that northward turn into this weakness out ahead of it and around that clockwise flow. But then what happens into Tuesday and Wednesday is the high kind of builds back in. And now you have a situation where, well, if this high is this strong, Larry may be way over here by then. If this high really is looking more like this, and there's no room for the storm, so the storm could be a bit further out, and that's what pushes it towards Bermuda. And on this operational run of the Euro, it gets kind of close to Bermuda. It's still away from Bermuda, but it's closer for comfort. And again, this is Thursday of next week, so this is 9 days from now. So the chances of Larry being much closer or much further to the east are possible. Now, this doesn't mean that it's going to come straight to the eastern U.S. yet, but I'm going to let you know that there are storms like this that get out here and we think, oh, it's definitely going to turn, and then the high keeps building, 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 and the storm keeps trying to go north, and it can't, then it can't, then it can't, and then eventually it runs out of room, and all of a sudden the East Coast has got to play with it. This is what Florence did a couple years ago, the one that hit North Carolina, caused the flooding. Irma kind of did it too, but I don't think Irma was ever fully expected to recurve. But there's been some big classic hurricanes that have been expected to turn and then never quite have. History tells us most that form out here do turn, but it is worth watching. So we're going to keep an eye on this, but we got a couple days, several days really to watch this. Again, this thing is, unbelievably far away from the eastern U.S., so there's no worry in the short term. Finally, we do have to watch the Western Caribbean through the end of the week. We have a strong upper trough over this region tonight. We can go back to satellite, see this really well. Big, deep digging trough over the Western Caribbean. That's going to nix any potential development. But as this trough begins to weaken and exit, it's going to draw some tropical moisture up, a little wave moving through. You're probably going to get some tropical development late this week, and you can see this on the GFS by the evening. You see all that tropical moisture starts streaming in, but then by Friday afternoon, Friday night, you have this little low pressure developing near the coast of the Yucatan and Central America. Probably not going to be a whole lot to this. Hurricane Center not very high on it. They have just a 20% chance on this wave. I think 10% next couple days and 20% through the weekend or towards the weekend. And European and GFS ensembles pretty not excited about this one. European sees almost nothing. GFS definitely sees more, but notice how the GFS ensembles definitely bury this one into Central America. And on the GFS, you can see here there's a nice mid-level high centered over the Gulf Coast and the Gulf of Mexico, which should direct anything that forms into Mexico. The two outliers here, the GFS doesn't show this as much today, but as this trough lifts out, some of this tropical moisture may want to kind of come northward. It's not showing it tonight, but some models, like you see that little break off, the little vorticity break off, it's a small subtle thing, but a little bit of vorticity could try to break off and kind of come up with that trough. You might see something form up here towards the southern part of Florida or Cuba. Something to watch. Again, nothing official, just something I'm looking at. And then sometimes these systems like to fester down here, and every now and then, you can have something come up out of here eventually once this high eventually leaves. But again, that is a long time away. No threat. There's nothing like Ida looking like with this one, so we're good for now. Just something we're going to have to keep watching. So that's what I got for you guys tonight. Your tropical update. Many, many days to watch Larry. Kate's a joke, and that Western Caribbean thing shouldn't be a big problem. But Ida is the biggest threat, and that flooding and tornado outbreak tomorrow is going to be pretty serious, and folks up there hopefully are taking it seriously, and the forecasts are doing well. So that's what I got for you guys this evening on your tropical update. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.